It's recharge rescue time. This time I have traveled to San Diego County. We're actually in La Mesa to visit David. David,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. David is an active duty naval engineer. David, first off, thank you for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And now I want to try to repay the service. David contacted me a few weeks ago. He's having a problem here with his home charging equipment. He's had multiple equipment failures. The circuit that his car charger's on gets much hotter than what he's comfortable with. And he's an engineer, so he knows about heat and current and everything. And he's had multiple electricians to the house to try to figure this out. Nobody's been able to figure out exactly what's wrong. I'm bringing Trout Electric. Matt Trout, the owner, is coming himself. Matt's a master electrician, somebody that I've worked with before in the past. If Matt can't figure this out, nobody can, David. This isn't a simple burn NEMA 1450 or something that I could even look at myself and say, there's the problem. We don't know really what's going on here. I mean, obviously, if you take a look behind us, the previous electrician that did the work did a real shabby job here. He's got a Pulsar Plus made by Wallbox in the corner. He's gone through 3 of them, and there's been other issues. So we're going to get Trout Electric here, they're a Qmerit contractor, diagnose the problem, and get you charging again, all right?
Awesome.
Let's get into it.
Awesome, thanks.
All right, so David, Matt's on his way. He's going to be here with his crew any minute. Before we jump into this, I want to read the email that you sent me just a couple of weeks ago, okay? Mm-hmm. Hi, Tom. I hope you're doing well. I'm reaching out from San Diego, where I'm currently serving on active duty in the U.S. Navy. I've been stationed here for my entire 22-year career and work as an engineer by trade. I'm a 2023 Rivian R1T owner, and my daughter drives a 2020 Chevy Bolt. Unfortunately, while I was deployed, I had an electrician complete the main panel upgrade for the 220-volt EV charger wiring. I believe some corners were cut during that installation, contributing to the major issues I'm seeing now. The run from the main panel to my hardwired Wallbox Pulsar Plus 48 amp is approximately 100 feet. There is a 6-gauge line running this distance, and I'm concerned the length, combined with the fact that it isn't fully in conduit throughout the attic, is causing a massive voltage drop and overheating. The situation has become quite concerning. My issues include hardware failures. I'm on my 3rd Wallbox Pulsar Plus due to reoccurring problems, and the charger frequently cuts out. Thermal issues. The 60 amp breaker heats up substantially. I've measured it with a temperature meter, and the readings are not something I'm comfortable with. System instability. The charger frequently opens the contacts and becomes unstable. I've even noticed intermittent ticking or arcing type sounds coming from my 220 amp main service panel. I've worked extensively with Rivian, Wallbox, and even San Diego Gas and Electric, which helped me by installing a dedicated transformer on the pole outside my home to rule out upstream utility issues. While the utility side is stable, I've had multiple electricians come to look at the system, and they simply can't figure it out. I'm at a point where I can't keep spending money and getting nowhere. I know you partner with Qmerit, and I think they're a great company. I would genuinely love to work with you and your team on this project to finally diagnose the root cause and get my system running safely. Thank you again for everything you and the team do. All right, so you've got multiple issues here.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit your experience. How did this start? When did you get this installed? And just give me your whole story.
So in about 2023, I was deployed overseas, and I needed to get an extra run made for a 48 amp hardwired EV charger. And I hired an electrician from afar, far away. And they said, okay, we'll run a line. We'll take out your NEMA 1450 plug.
There was a NEMA 1450 plug there.
Yeah, existing. And
the previous owner.
Correct. Yeah, he permitted and everything. And then I said I needed a line to run a charger. So I shipped him the charger. He installed the charger and the line beneath or behind us. And
let me interrupt. You asked him to do what?
So I asked him basically to run a new line from the existing circuit, put a new 60 amp breaker on there, and run this rest of the circuit and install the EV charger.
But didn't you talk to him about running it along the?
Yeah, so I talked to him about running it along the top of the truss right there.
Going from this up.
And then he runs this thing over here. I didn't use the door, but he runs it in front of the door, and who knows what else he did. And I do know that he actually ran out of wire. He told me verbally on the phone, he ran out of wire, so he had to run an extra wire to reach the charger.
From the junction box.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that produced a slew of problems.
Yeah.
First EV charger, I thought it was Wallbox.
Yeah.
Don't really know. The charger handle overheated. They replaced it. And then I started to notice anomalies outside. Basically, the breaker was overheating. I started to hear...
You had to replace the breaker.
3 times.
3 times, the 60 amp breaker.
Yeah. And then the breaker itself was replaced, but after that was replaced, I started to notice ticking, almost like it was arcing.
Yeah.
Didn't see anything, and then I also noticed a loud hum in back of my bedroom where I sleep.
Where the wire runs.
Correct. And it's loud enough you can hear it through the walls.
Vibrations.
Vibrations, exactly. And there's some normality to some of that, but it started to make me feel more uncomfortable. Did some heat readings, and then that's where we're at today. And
and you said you had other electricians come to look at it.
I did. I had one in Point Loma come.
Yeah.
They couldn't figure out what was going on. They did their load calcs. They did everything that they could. And every time they just recommend, okay, let's replace the whole thing. Yeah. But something else I think is going on. So they said, yeah, we're not sure. And they wanted a lot of money for it. So I said, okay, let me see what's going on. So I reached out to you.
But before that, you also reached out to SDG&E, right?
Yes.
Because you had some voltage fluctuations and you thought that might be causing it. And what did they do?
So they actually said, okay, finally after pushing with SDG&E, they said, okay, we will put a voltage meter to record the voltage coming in the home. I was drawing everyone else's voltage amount around my home.
You were making the whole
everyone
the street sad.
Yep, street side exactly. So they came over. They put a voltage meter on the side of the house. They recorded for about a week. They saw that I was not provided the proper electricity that I was paying for. Yep. Yeah. And then they installed a brand new transformer, a lot bigger, and supporting only like 4 homes now. Yeah. So I know my electricity coming in the house is spot on.
Yeah, and I could see it's a brand new transformer. You have amazing views from the back of your house.
It is, yeah.
And the pole is right there too. That's the only negative. You got a pole right, but you can just look to the left and you don't see the pole. So I know it's a brand new transformer, and since then your voltage has been fine.
It's been great.
So that's not the issue.
Correct.
But power's coming to the house properly. There's a problem at the house. Well, Matt and his crew from Trout Electric are coming. They're going to be getting here really soon.
Awesome.
We're going to figure this thing out. We're going to fix everything.
Thank you.
So, if you go on deployment or whatever, you don't have to worry about this. Yours and your daughter's car, because you have a Rivian R1T.
Correct.
Your daughter drives a Chevy Bolt. Gotta love the Bolts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have one too. And you don't have to worry if you're not home or whatever. The car is going to charge. It's not going to shut off. You're not going to have any problems.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Matt and his crew is going to be getting here any minute.
Thank you.
We'll get you fixed up.
Appreciate what you do. Thank you.
State of Charge is powered by Qmerit, North America's premier installer of electric vehicle charging equipment. After I've helped you decide which charger to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. And if you do follow that link, Qmerit will waive the $150 installation deposit. But this is an exclusive offer for State of Charge followers. So in order to get that offer, you must follow the link in the description of my videos. All right, so the electrical contractor here. This is Matt Trout for Trout Electric. He's a local Qmerit contractor. If you watch my channel, you may recognize Matt because we've done 2 videos together already. One was on just how to safely charge your EV. We talked about NEMA 1450 failures. And the other one, you actually did the recharge rescue with me. I think it was in Texas.
In Texas.
Right. Tell us briefly a little bit about Trout Electric. I'm giving you a plug here.
Yeah, so Trout Electric, we're a full service electrical contractor. We do specialize in EV charging. We do have offices now in Riverside, California, San Jose, California, Indio, California, and Las Vegas, Nevada.
So I specifically asked Qmerit to send Matt on this job if he was available, because this isn't just a simple burn NEMA 1450. This isn't something where even I can look at it and say, here it is. This is kind of, there's intermittent problems. He's had failures of his charging equipment. He has the wire itself is vibrating and humming, and I felt it. As soon as you turn it on, it's loud in the panel and everything. So you've done your assessment. Now, what are we going to do here? Well, what's the problem?
So first thing is we took a look. We did a load calculation. The load calculation's fine. We looked at the installation as far as the wire goes. We looked at the installation as far as everything that's going on. As you can see here, we have some conduit.
Is that to code, having a wire go across a door?
No, this is definitely not the code. So yeah, the big issue that I think that we have here is going to be the wire. The insulation on the wire is damaged, which is creating a vibration in that wire. Plus it's not rated for the full 60 amps. So this is 6-gauge Romex. We talked about that before.
6-gauge Romex running 100 feet from the outside panel through the attic.
With splices.
Down to here, coming, there's not a splice there, but there's splices here.
Yep.
And then running with this
contraption. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and take all of that out. We're gonna put new flex and new conduit in, across the attic. We're gonna put in 6-gauge THHN wire. We're gonna get rid of all the vibration, all the heat. We did take a heat gun to it. We did see that there was a few areas that were a little questionable that were heating up a little bit.
And it was only charging for a short period of time.
Correct.
If it was charging for 4 or 5, 6 hours, and it's also not a hot day today,
correct,
I bet the heat would have been even higher.
It would have, for sure.
Well, David said he's been monitoring it, and sometimes it's uncomfortably high for him.
Exactly. Especially with a consistent charge, of 8 hours or whatever it's going to go to. So we're going to take all that out. We're going to put the 6-gauge THH in. And we're going to get rid of all the heat and make it safe.
Okay. And so far, you and I we've been talking about whether we're going to leave the Wallbox Pulsar Plus here. This is a new one. It's the third one that David had. He had 2 failures, but it seems to be working okay. During the day, we might reassess this.
Correct.
Before the day is over. My thought was there's nothing wrong with the charger itself. It's definitely something within the run, so we could leave it here because it's working fine. I don't know. We've been going back and forth. By the end of this day, I might run out and get another a different unit and put it in. I've always been a fan of the Wallbox Pulsar Plus. They're great smart chargers. They got tons of features. But the reason why that gives me a little cause for concern is my followers have reported to me an inordinate amount of failures on Pulsar Plus units. All the chargers that I review, my followers, 1 or 2 have sent me emails. Oh, Tom, you reviewed this charger and I got one and it failed in a few months. That can happen. It's going to happen. But I've had a higher percentage of people report problems with the Pulsar Plus. So I'm just worried about it being a quality control issue. That said, we also talked about the fact that the unit's shutting down. David sent me a video of what's happening. One of the issues is in the middle of charging, he'll be charging for an hour or so, the unit just shuts off.
Oh, there it goes. Charger stopped again. Not the car. Look at that. Charger tripped.
And what you had said, that's actually a good thing.
It is a good thing because if there is any kind of safety issue, like for example, the wire's overheating or anything like that, the unit is designed to shut down.
Yeah. So it seems to be doing what it's supposed to do.
Correct.
Right. So we're still, the jury is out whether or not we're going to replace it or not. I'm not saying all Wallbox Pulsar Plus are bad. Don't get me wrong. Many of my followers have them and love them. I want to make sure we leave David rock solid here because, especially because he's an active duty, 22-year Navy engineer, and he's, not always at home, and I don't want to have any issue for him and his family.
Absolutely.
So, all right, well, let's get to work, then we'll take a look once we're done and see what you guys did.
We'll make our mind up on that then.
Exactly.
Yep.
Today's video is sponsored by evchargingstations.com. If you drive an electric vehicle or you're planning to, this site is packed with comprehensive charger reviews, detailed DC fast charging graphs, and the latest news from all of the fast charging networks. You'll find real-world testing, easy to understand comparison, and deep dives into how different electric vehicles actually charge. Before you buy an EV charger or plan your next road trip, make sure to bookmark evchargingstations.com and make smarter charging decisions. And with that, Matt's team got to work. The first thing they did was to perform a load calculation to make sure David wasn't overloading his service, and he wasn't, so we didn't need to install a charger with dynamic load management. The guys then removed the entire circuit from the 60 amp breaker to the wire that ran up the side of the house, through the attic, and into the garage. They removed the junction box that was installed by the house's previous owner, which was used as an NEMA 1450 outlet, and the flexible conduit that, remarkably, was draped across the garage door. They then pulled flexible metal conduit through the attic, and as you can see, I don't mind lending a hand when needed. They then pulled a continuous run of 6-gauge THHN wire from the new 60 amp circuit breaker up the side of the house, through the attic, into the garage, and installed new metal conduit up along the ceiling and down across to the wall box without any breaks or junction box connections needed. It was one continuous run of wire. The guys then reinstalled the wall box, we energized the circuit, and plugged David's R1T in to make sure everything was okay. All right, Matt, we spent the better part of the day. Tell us what you did here.
So we completely replaced the entire line from the panel, new breaker. We actually shifted the breaker spot also from where it was up, just to make sure that we eliminated everything that it could potentially be. Yeah. We put in all new conduit through the attic, tied it in with number 6 THHN, number 10 ground. Replaced it going from in front of the door. We put it in conduit all the way up and over.
Remove that junction box.
Yeah, got rid of the junction box so there's no splices. It's a complete, from the panel all the way to the charger with number 6 THHN. Yeah. Connected the charger. We put the same charger back on like we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, we thought, we figured, it's probably something from the charger back.
Yeah, and we actually found a lot in that line. So in the Romex that was ran through, we found that the wire was nicked in several spots. The connections were in Polaris's in a 4S box, which was on the wall, and those are getting a little bit warm. Nothing that was like super obvious and burned up, but a lot of inconsistencies in the wire. And
again, it was number 6 Romex, which you're not supposed to use on this. And the interesting thing that I found was they did cut the sheathing off the Romex when they put it in the metal conduit.
Correct.
But then when it got up to the attic, they left it on and they left it running through the attic. And then when it came out here, again, they they stripped it. So they tried to make it okay. They didn't have Romex inside of a conduit. But correct. Still, the number 6 Romex isn't good for this circuit.
It's the wire type that's in it. So we eliminated all of those things. So completely got rid of, and it did help, right? We got rid of the humming.
The vibration as bad as it was by the panel. But what happened?
So as soon as we plugged the truck on, it actually faulted out. So
the charger faulted out.
The charger faulted out. Within like the first 10 seconds.
Yeah. But now it's been running for a while with no problems. But our assumption that the wall box was going to be okay was wrong.
That's correct.
And this is the third wall box. We don't know at this point if, David was getting bad wall boxes from the factory or if his system, the fact that it was, undersized wire, there were nicks in the wires, if it was causing some type of irregularity in the current and it was frying the wall boxes, or causing them to act, inappropriately. I don't know. But it was odd to me that it shut off in the first 10 seconds. It hadn't even ramped up to the 10.6 kilowatt that we're expecting to see. So I don't know at this point, but.
Yeah, so we're going to put a new Enphase IQ charger on. Yeah. We're going to hook it back up tonight, and we're going to try it out and make sure it doesn't do the same thing. So
we won't leave until everything is perfect. So, Matt's crew is going to the supply house now.
Yep.
We thought the day was over. It's been a long day. It's not over yet. Luckily, I have a really late flight tonight. I have a red eye going back east, so I have enough time to hang out. Your guys should be back in half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. We're going to swap it out and make sure everything is solid before we go. Yep. Thanks for everything you've done here. You guys did awesome work. You know, I think it was worth seeing if this was the issue. You know,
sure.
and you know, I'm kind of actually a little surprised because I figured with all the issues we saw going from here to the panel, I thought for sure that was the major issue. But you know, I think it was a combination. And you know, but we'll get Dave up and charging properly. We will not leave here until he's solid.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen. I appreciate all the work you did. I don't know if you're going to hang out for the rest of the day or just have your guys. You'll stay.
We're staying. Yeah,
okay. Well, I know.
Here.
I know the crew's gonna, but I know you've got like a 2.5 hour ride back up to where you live. But I appreciate the time here. Awesome work. You know, Matt Trout Electric. If you're in any one of his service districts, this is the man. He does fantastic work. I specifically asked Qmerit to send him down because I know, you know, he's going to figure out whatever's going on here and make sure he gets it right, and we're going to get it right.
Awesome.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate you.
When Matt's team returned from the supply house with the Enphase IQ, they first had to remove the Wallbox Pulsar Plus that we had just reinstalled. The Enphase is larger than the Pulsar Plus, so they needed to install a couple 2x4 braces for the mounting bracket to attach to. They also needed to adjust the conduit, and luckily the wires were long enough to reach the contacts inside the Enphase. The guys finished the installation, and David paired the charger with his existing Enphase solar system app, so he can now monitor his car charging and solar system in one app. And once the unit was installed, Matt wanted to be 100% certain there were no issues. So we plugged in David's R1T. We let it charge for a while, and then Matt pulled out his thermal sensor, checked the unit itself as well as the whole line to make sure nothing was abnormal, and it wasn't. Everything was working perfectly, so Matt and his team packed up and left. Another recharge rescue completed. All right, David. Long day.
It was.
12. This is the longest recharge rescue that I've done. We're here 12 hours today.
Long time.
A lot of work. We completely replaced your entire circuit. From the panel, ran up into the attic, down over 100 feet of number 6 THHN in conduit. And then at the end of the day, we plug in your car and we still get one of the issues that you're having. So part of your problem was that Wallbox Pulsar
Absolutely.
Plus.
Third one.
Yeah, third one. And I don't know if, I would imagine the inadequate circuit that you had could have been leading to the failures of those. I don't think it was just that you got 3 bad units.
No.
I think that the power that was coming was not consistent, good power.
Or fluctuating.
Yeah, it was. I think that was part of the issue.
Yeah.
But now we got you this Enphase IQ50. This is their Enphase's brand new unit. It's paired. You have Enphase
entire
system at your house, so it worked great. Now your app actually shows everything, the whole house with the charger synced in. So we actually really gave you an upgrade here.
Yes, you
so give me your thoughts on today, and are you happy with everything?
More than happy. I couldn't be more happy and thrilled, and everyone from Trout Electric was spot on. They did great work. I mean, the fact that you brought them in here to help diagnose the problems and then get this great charger is more than thankful, right? But they went through it meticulously, and they figured out that there were issues, and they addressed them, and you guys kept on pushing, and then we addressed the charger, and we got a charger in here, and I'm more than happy. But for me, it's about safety of my family and my house. That's the main thing. I don't want to lead to a fire, and I think that's the biggest thing that people need to push is safety, safety, safety.
That's the whole point of Recharge Rescue.
Yep.
It's all about making sure people, not just that you could charge your car, that you can charge it safely and you can sleep soundly at night knowing that there's no issue. Now, your specific problem here wasn't like a lot of the Recharge Rescues I do, where there was, a near fire, a burn. This could have led to something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it was going to,
right.
But it was a problem that we had to figure out. And I'm glad that we're able to come here and do this for you.
Yeah, it was amazing. And if you think about it, this is a not very common problem.
No.
This is something small, but these little ones that you rule out, it also helps EV adoption and everyone else, and charging at home, which is the convenience factor to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way.
Yeah.
If you do have the ability to charge at home, it's the most convenient.
It is.
Quite often the least expensive, way to charge your EV. The whole EV charging circuit isn't like installing a ceiling fan. The amount of current that's being pulled, and in your case, charging 2 EVs, you set up to 14 hours at a time consistently,
back to back.
It puts a strain on that circuit unlike anything else in your house.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if everything isn't done exactly right, if the right wire isn't used, if all the connections aren't tightened properly, I mean, we had a junction box here that was completely unnecessary. It was ridiculous, and then
running in front of the door.
Yeah, and then Romex wire inside of other conduit. It was really just a shabby shabby job. So we got everything cleanly done now. All the conduits tucked in up against your ceiling. I think it looks great. This new Enphase unit is really cool. I haven't reviewed this unit yet. It's pretty new. Just came on the market, so I'm going to be grabbing one of these and reviewing it pretty soon. I really like it. It's a sleek looking unit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen. I want to thank you again for your service to this country. 22 years.
Thank you so much.
It makes me happy that I could give back a little to you. That you've pretty much dedicated your life to the military.
Absolutely.
And listen, thank you, and I'm sure a lot of my followers are going to thank you in the comment section for your 22 years of service in the Navy.
Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate you guys and everyone you work with, Trout Electric and Qmerit. Thanks for making this happen.
Listen, I'm happy.
Thanks.
Charge safely,
Awesome.
and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I'm back home, and it's a couple of days later. I wanted to wait a couple of days to give David some time to use the new charger and make sure everything was working fine on the circuit. I'm happy to report that he's having no problems. He's been able to charge his Rivian and the Chevy Bolt a few times, never cut out. Everything's working as it should be. I know that we've solved everything because the way David was explaining it to me, he just consistently had problems before where the charger would just shut off intermittently for a while, then it might turn back on. So we definitely solved all of his issues. And this was an interesting one because unlike the other recharge rescues that I've done in the past, there wasn't an obvious issue like a burned outlet or a junction box that melted. This one we had to pretty much replace the whole circuit, and there were multiple issues. I mean, it started off with the fact that the electrician that did the work used number 6 Romex on a 60 amp circuit. That's not allowed. If you're going to use number 6, it has to be THHN. You've got to put it in MC or some sort of a pipe, which we did. That was number 1. And the interesting thing was that the electrician that did that job stripped the sheathing off of the Romex when it was in the piping. And that was outside from the panel up into the attic outside of the house. Then when it ran through the attic, he left the sheathing on. Then when it came out in the garage wall up on the top, down into that junction box that used to be the NEMA 1450 outlet, again, stripped the sheathing off it. Plus, we found so many nicks and cuts in the wire along the run. And then let's talk about that flexible, non-metallic, liquid-tight conduit that he used, that he ran from the old NEMA 1450 to the charger. Now, from what I understand, he wasn't planning on doing that when he started this work, but he ran out of wire. David said that he told his wife, again, David wasn't home when he did this work, that he had intended on running the Romex from the panel through the attic and then to the charger, into the garage, into the charger. But he ran up short, so instead he just ran it down to that existing NEMA 1450 outlet box, just made it a junction box, and then used that liquid-tight conduit to go over to the charger. And as you could see, it was running in front of a door. Now, I don't want to stick up for this electrician that did this work. That's totally wrong, totally against code. But one thing that you might not have known from the video was David does have a very large toolbox on wheels that he usually keeps in front of that door. He doesn't use that door. That door leads out of the garage. So I suppose the electrician said, well, this is a non-functioning door or non-using door, so I could just run this wire across it. Totally wrong, but I just want to make sure you guys know that he didn't do it on an active doorway. It wasn't being used. Still no excuse, completely wrong, but I felt like I had to at least let you know that it wasn't a door that was actively being used. Another issue that we found was that where the 60 amp breaker was in David's panel was very loose. Now that could have been and that's a new service panel. It was only a couple of years old, that new 200 amp panel. So when we put in the new breaker, we installed a brand new 60 amp breaker. We used a different position because it was loose, and that could have been from the overheating on the circuit, and it could have just expanded and contracted and made that slot loose. So that we replaced that, and this eliminated all the vibrations and hissing that we heard on the circuit. David pointed that out to us before we got there, and we witnessed it. I mean, you could feel the conduit on the line while the car was charging anywhere on that circuit, and it was just vibrating in your hand, and when you got your ear near it, you'd hear a loud hissing noise. So this new circuit with the proper wire eliminated all of that. And then at the end, we ended up replacing the Wallbox Pulsar Plus, which was another issue. Now, I don't know if it was a defective one out of the factory or if David's circuit caused something in it to malfunction. We really don't know. It would be odd that 3 consecutive units all came from the factory, with a problem. Not unheard of, but definitely odd. So I'm leaning towards thinking David's home problems was causing the problem with the Pulsar Plus. But now that we have the new Enphase IQ2 up, and I want to point out, I was referring to it as an Enphase IQ50. That's not the right term for that charger that we installed. That's the new Enphase IQ2. It's their latest generation that they just came out with. The previous generation was the Enphase IQ50. I reviewed that one here. I'm going to get a hold of one of these new IQ2s and review it in the coming months because I think it was a nice unit. And it was really cool how David, since he had other Enphase equipment and the solar, was able to pair it all together. He already had the app. He had to add that. Now he can see everything. He can see his solar generation and the electricity that's going to the charger, all to the vehicle from the charger, all in one app. So that was a bonus that he wasn't really counting on. I probably should have picked up one of those before we even came, but I really thought that correcting the whole circuit was going to fix the problem. It didn't. The Pulsar Plus was one of the issues in David's whole number of problems. And, we eliminated that junction box now. It's continuous right from the panel up the side of the house, through the attic, in MC in the attic. It's in metal clad, run through the attic, and then into the garage. And as you notice, we ran it up along the ceiling, right to the church. Nice, clean installation. Matt went and checked the whole circuit. Everything's working great. David's not going to have any issues, and that's what we wanted to do. When I got the email from him initially, and there was no specific problem, I was looking at it kind of like, well, how do we make this work? But then when he told me, I'm a 22-year naval veteran, I was like, okay, done deal. We're going to do this. We got to repay this guy for his service to the country. And he seems very happy with what we did. And again, I want to thank David for making a career out of serving the Navy. That's definitely a selfless act. And thank you for your service, David. All right, so that's pretty much all we have here on this recharge rescue. But again, I want to point out the importance of having your charging circuit done by a professional that knows what he's doing. There's a lot of electricians out there that do substandard work. And that's part of the reason why I partnered with Qmerit here. Qmerit quite often isn't the least expensive installation you can get, but they do the installations correctly, and you don't have problems like this, and you don't have to go back and redo it, and you don't have a fire in your garage. They make sure everything is done correctly on the first installation, and that's so important because, electricians can do substandard work from time to time on, lighting circuits and ceiling fans and a bunch of things in the house. They don't have the duty cycle and the stress that gets put on the circuit like EV charging. EV charging is like nothing else in your house. Nothing else draws 48 amps continuously for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In David's case, he said sometimes 14 continuous hours. He charges the Rivian from a low state of charge, then he'll unplug and charge the Chevy Bolt. So the circuit is just being stressed for tremendously long period of time. Nothing else in your house does that. And that reveals any problems that you had where other electrical devices in the house, even if it's done substantially, quite frequently you don't have a problem because that circuit isn't stressed as much as EV charging does. So, you know, I like to remind everybody, got this wonderful new electric car, spend a few dollars more and have your charging circuit done right, and you'll have years of trouble-free charging. You could sleep soundly at night knowing that you're not going to have a fire or something like this. We've seen this happen. We've seen improper installations cause fires in houses, and I don't want you to be the next one. So make sure you get your electric vehicle charging circuit done properly by a professional that knows, that specializes in EV charging, and you're going to be good to go. Many years of safe electric vehicle charging. It's just not worth saving a couple $100 and having a potential fire in your house. As much as I like doing this recharge rescue video series, I hope one day it's not necessary and everybody's electric vehicle charging circuit is done properly and safely. All right, well, that's all I have here today. If this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.